Yesterday, Notion announced a partnership with LinkedIn Premium members that you would get 6 months free with AI to trial and test out Notion. Some of you, that might be the starting point that you need in order to get moving. But as a business owner, it can be quite hard to learn new systems. And that's why today I'm going to build a one-page business hub that you solely only need to use that page to move your business to the next level. I'm going to take you through it step by step. And if you're too lazy to watch the full video and just get started with it, I've also made a little how-to on the page and you can get it from there. Just put your email in down below and I'll make sure I send it over. The aim of today is to build a business hub that is solely on one page. And this is going to give us the ability to not confuse things, not make things overcomplicated, and actually just make it something that's worthwhile. So you may have used Notion before and you might have maybe tried some of them here and there. You might have not, and that's okay. I'm going to take you through step by step on how to actually build this and how you can go about doing it. So first and foremost, you're going to want to start a new page. On the left-hand side, you'll probably see a lot of different things that you can do. Yours will probably be a lot cleaner than mine, but all you'll need to have is in your private space, you can just come to the add a page section and a new page will come up. You can also do it on the page that you're on, where it's simply just a slash page and that will be there. We're going to name this the one page business hub. And this is going to get us started. So one of the things I always like to do is I like to come to the top corner and make it full width. Full width is always the best with what you're wanting. You always want to make sure this is the case. From here, you can add your own little things in this space. So I'm going to add an icon of just a business. So we've got that there. And then I'm going to add a cover. I usually just like to use something like a black cover because it is a lot cleaner. Inside of Notion, the slash feature is what you would use to choose everything that you're wanting to actually do. If you're wanting to add anything, the slash feature is what's going to allow you to actually do that. So you can see here, there's an absolute plethora of things that you can use. You can put headings, you can put callouts, you can put numbers, you can put databases, you can do different views, you can have buttons, you can have columns. There really is so much that you can do in this. And we're going to split this into a few different areas. So I'm going to put a checklist here just that as we go through it, we can check them off and make sure that it's working. So we're going to have a task database. This is just to track how you're getting on with your tasks. We're going to have a work on the business area because this is an area we definitely do not do enough. We're also going to have an ideas area because again, we have a lot of ideas as business owners. That's what we're wanting to do. We're going to have a call section and this is going to have our meeting notes, and this is where we're going to put AI meeting notes inside of here. And then I don't know if there's anything else we need to add at this moment in time. I think this is just about what we need in order to move this to the next stage. So what we're going to do is we're going to do slash callout. We're going to do 2 callout blocks. This is just to separate these areas so that we can get started. Now, this main one, I'm going to name home and I'm going to highlight over this and I'm going to make it bold and I'm going to link it back to this first page. This means that we can go in and out as a sort of menu feature for doing just that. We're going to do slash page and we're going to create a thing called the core. Inside of the core is the place that I keep where my databases are, and it allows me to protect them a little bit further because there's 2 forms of databases that you can use. One is an inline, which is inside of the page. So if I show you here, a database is inline is just a database that's shown here. Another is a full page for a database where a full separate page is being created. It means that when you're doing linked views of databases, you can have them all in that one area. And you'll also see that it's not directly on this page. So you're not filling up your page with a ton of databases that you're using on a consistent basis. The first thing that we're going to do in here is we're going to start building out the databases themselves. And we're going to create, just like we've done before, the database here. Now, if you are a premium member, obviously you can actually use building with AI. You can have a task tracker here. You can do projects, documents. So you can start off using the AI features right away with Notion. And they're actually really good. I've used the AI features for building lists and tasks and all that sort of stuff. And they're a really good starting point for what you're wanting to do. But for the sake of this tutorial and for the sake of you actually going through it and learning it yourself and wanting to understand it a little bit more, we're going to go through it just one by one with what we're doing. Inside of here, we have the choice of adding multiple properties. And these are all the properties that you can add currently inside of the databases. There's a few that we're going to add, nothing crazy, nothing that's going to absolutely blow your mind. But first and foremost, we're going to have the person. If you have a team, we obviously want to know who this is assigned to, so we can change the name of by who. You can also put little information cards in here as well if you want some of the team to understand them more. And you can set up a multitude of things in here too if you're wanting to actually build it out. You can also have a limit of the number of people that you have on here. So if you want to add more than one, or you want to have it as a limit of one, then you can also add the limit into that space. The next one that we're going to add is a checkbox, which the checkbox is essentially going to be that we have completed the task that we've actually put. We're also then going to do a date function for the date of completion. So we're going to have a complete by. And then finally, we're going to have a select tool, which is going to be the level of priority. Now, you could have a status tool as well if you're wanting to have that. But for now, we're not going to do that, and we're going to just make it that it's an easy function. We're going to do a little bit of a tidy up with the checkboxes, but we don't actually need to do much. And then in here, we're going to put this as the task. So we're going to name the task database in this space. We're going to add a few icons with just the checkboxes. I know I'm doing this quite quickly, but this is just to give you a little bit of a nicer and fresher look for what you're doing. And then in here as well, we're going to have this as the task database. We're going to have these as the checkboxes. So this is the first starting point with what we're looking to do. You can change these, move these around in any way that you want, and have them in any way that you want them to actually look. Because we have not linked this to a particular page just yet, this is obviously still in its own page, but what we're going to be having it is inside of here so that we can just see it on that one page. But right now, we're just getting the databases sorted so that when we do link them to the main page, we will be all good. What I'm also going to do in this space is I'm going to have a completed tasks one, so that again, we can use the filters to show just the completed tasks and ones that we actually need to complete. So this is where we're going to do a little bit of a sorting. I usually like to use this up here to be able to sort the databases themselves. This gives you the chance to sort and filter what you're actually wanting to create in here. So let's filter it first by the complete that is unchecked, because obviously we don't want to show the tasks that we've already completed because we've completed them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sort it by ascending order, and then we're going to sort it by the level of priority, essentially meaning that these work, by the way, from top to bottom. So if you put the priority first, it's going to sort them in priority and then complete, and just the same as what I've done here. But inside of the priority, I'm going to put the attack list, I'm going to put high, and then I'm going to put low. So I usually don't add a medium, because when we put medium, we never really do it. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come to the top section of this database, and we are going to use the drop down here to create a template. Now, inside of all databases, you can have templates that you create. And I would always recommend doing that, because you can customize this to make it look a little bit nicer with what you're doing. So we're going to customize this here of just naming this a new task. We're going to put the icon as the checkbox with a blue. And then we're going to add a cover again, just as that black cover before, because it's quite smooth and clean. Now, what I always recommend is we make this full width, just so that it's easy to do. And there's a new cool thing within Notion where we've got the customized layout. So up the top, you can have 4 pinned properties, and we are generally just going to pin all of these. So we're going to have the complete, we're going to have complete by date, by who, and then the level of priority. And that means every time we come into these pages, these are all at the top and they look a little bit nicer. And the final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a heading to. So that's just /2 inside of that, and you'll see the heading to. And we're just going to write steps to complete in case there's some extra steps that we're wanting to do. I'm going to add a divider under this to create a little bit of separation for it, and then a checklist in here in case there's more items that you're wanting to actually add into this space. I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to make this new task template default for all of the databases that we use in here. And it means from now on, when we add a new task in, all of these are going to come into play, and that's the ones that we are going to use. So the final one that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we filter and sort this where the complete for the completed tasks has been checked. And we're going to sort this as well by the complete by, but in descending order, because we want to see the most recent tasks that we have completed. If we come back out to Notion itself, we've now got the tasks database set in here with what we're wanting to do. We're now going to get the work on the business area, and that's going to be the second database that we will complete. So if we come back to the core, again, just like before, we're going to do the database, and we're going to name this the work on business database. So inside of here, this is mainly going to be where you're going to look to push your business forward. So some examples that I would give in here is if you were working on improving your sales script, if you were working on improving your offer, on your content, all of that sort of stuff. This gives you the ability to have it inside of this space and keep track of all the things you're doing. So with the working on the business, we're just going to kind of do this the same as we were doing it before. I'm going to rename this to all development, so that we know what it actually is that we're moving forward with. I can't spell. And again, we're going to have the business in here. We're going to put that there. And we're going to have the same icons. I just like to keep these consistent so that as you're building it, everything is just easier to find and easier to see. So we're going to have this as the name. And then from here, we're going to add a few things. So we're going to add a created time, and this just automatically puts in created times. It's just a really easier way to find out what you've been working on most recently. And what I'm also going to put in here is a last edited time. This just means that the things that we are most recently editing, again, these can come to the top. It's easier for us to find what we're actually doing and what we're actually working on rather than going hunting for what we're doing. Now, you do have a search bar up here that you can literally search for everything that you do in Notion, but if you're wanting to see what you're most recently working on, then it's a good thing to do. We're going to add another checkbox in here too, of just a complete checkbox, so that if we do complete the working on the business, then again, we do have the option of hiding it if we want. We don't need to though. Next up, what we're going to add is another select tool, or we probably could do a multi-select tool with this. Multi-select just means that you can choose multiple. It kind of says what it does on the tin, but this is going to be related to. So in here, you could put things like your marketing, you could put things like your sales, your systems, your hiring. So there's multitudes of things that you can add in here for all of the relations to work in your way. And you can select as many as you want with that. And the final one that we're going to do is we're just going to have a created by, so that if you're working in your team, again, we can know who's working on what and who's actually pushing forward with what. Just like before, we're going to create a new template for this, and it's going to be work on business. And in this space, we're going to add an icon again, just like we've done before. We're going to add this cover. Up the top with the customized layout, we're going to make sure that at the top, we've got the complete by, we've got the related to, and we've got the last edited time. The created by and the created time can stay there if they're wanting to. And again, this just means that we can put this full width. We can have everything that we need in these spaces for when we do that. We're going to make sure that we put this template as the default, and we are good to go with the work on the business database. The next one that we're going to do is the ideas database. Now, this is just essentially a brain dump database of things that you're wanting to do. So I'm just going to put ideas here. And again, we're going to name this ideas. And we're going to have a light bulb as the icon for this one. Just like before, we're continuing with the model that we're working on. We're going to have a select feature, and inside of this select feature, we're going to have the tag for this brain dump. So it could be something like market research. It could be something like your voice note. It could be anything that you're actually wanting to do. We're then going to have a checkbox, but this time we're going to name this a key idea. This is just so that we can organize these as a key idea if we're actually wanting to do that and if we're wanting to have that. And then inside of this space as well, we're going to put a text box, and this is just going to be our notes in case we just want to have them here and we actually want to put them there. And the final thing that we're going to do is we're just going to have a created time so that we know when the thing has been created. Inside of here, we're going to treat it a little bit different, where we're actually going to add partial parts of the AI functions that we were going to do before. Because inside of the Notion app and on your phone, you do have the ability to send in voice notes using the AI transcripts for what you're wanting to do. So inside of this new page, we're going to have a new idea section. And inside of this idea section, we are going to give ourselves the ability to do meeting notes. Now, if we do /AI meeting notes, you will see that you have the ability to summarize notes and transcriptions. Now, what's cool about this is inside of here, you can actually make it that it is looking for team meetings, or that Notion chooses itself. So we can have sales calls, stand-up, and team meetings. I usually just leave it on auto, as it can usually pick it up pretty well. Now, inside of this space, when you're on your phone, this just gives you the ability to easily track what you're talking about and what you're looking to actually write. And what this also allows us to do is inside of the add property section, we can add a AI autofill with this to summarize what's in this page. What this means is that when you do actually create a voice note, this is going to auto update on the edits that you make in the page. If you do a voice note into here instead of just typing, then this area in the idea section will actually create an auto-filled summary of what you discussed inside of that note, meaning you don't have to come back in and out of all of the pages to find out what you're wanting to do. Now we've got the text AI. I'm going to name this summary of voice note, if there is a summary of the voice note. This is just a really good way of organizing it the way we want to. So again, we're going to customize this layout, and at the top, we're going to have the key idea, we're going to have the tag, we're going to have the notes if there are any, and we're going to have the created time. And underneath, we're going to have the summary of the voice note. Now we're going to apply this, and this means that anytime that we do this voice note or have this new idea, then it gives us the ability to actually see, well, what have we talked about and what have we discussed? Come back out to here, you're now going to see this summary of the AI, and I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger, and we're going to move this into here. So from now on, when we do a new idea and we actually have this, I'll show you in action that if we come into this space, you can now see that you can start transcribing what's actually going on. So it's now picking up my voice, it's picking up what I'm doing, that I'm talking about creating this YouTube video for LinkedIn, wanting them to move forward with their idea and how they actually bring it to life. Now, when we stop this, it's going to generate the title for us. It's going to summarize everything that we talked about. We hadn't really talked about much, to be honest with you, but it is giving us the short recording. But this just does give us the ability to figure out what we're wanting to do and what we're wanting to move forward with. And in a few minutes, this summary of the voice note will come into here, and you can add the voice note ones as you can update it automatically if you want it to. This is a fantastic way of bringing in your ideas to life and actually using the voice notes feature on a consistent basis, especially when you have new ideas with what you're wanting to do. You can then tag that as a voice note, you can put it as a key idea, all of that sort of stuff with you moving forward. So we've now got the 3 areas. We've got one more section to do, and that is the call section. So inside of the call section, just like before and what we've done, we're going to name this calls. And this is going to give you the ability to have all your sales calls, your discovery calls, your education calls, your calls with friends, all of that sort of stuff inside of this space, because it is really, really tough to keep up with everything, especially with the number of calls that people take. But if you have it in this space, it's going to give you the ability not only to use the transcriptions that Notion offers, but it also allows you to organize and sort these in any way that you want. A few of the properties that we're going to add is just date of the call. The next one that we're going to do is call topic. So inside of the select, we could have some topics. So call topics. And these topics could be things like a client call, it could be an education call, and it also could be a discovery call. So we're going to have these to begin with what we're actually wanting to do. But if you want to add to these, you're more than welcome to. Next, we're going to have a person status. So it's just going to be who attended this call. This works better if you're in a team or if you've got multiple people working on you. And finally, what we're going to add into here is we're just going to have a favorite call. If there are particular calls that you have that you really enjoyed, it's a good idea to have somewhere that you can favorite certain things. Again, just so that you can see, what were the calls that actually stood out? What were the ones that caught my attention? And what were the ones that I actually wanted to do? Just like before, we're going to come into the templates and we're going to have a new call. Now, you can create multiple templates in here for particular call topics. If you want to have a call topic template for what you're wanting to do, then this does give you the ability to do that as well. So I would recommend it if you're adding in your own calls to these sections. But for now, obviously, I won't do that just because it will take too much time for me to explain all of that. So we're just following the same pattern that we were doing before. I'm not talking you really through it this time, just purely because, we've done this 3 or 4 times now. So it's important to actually just get moving with what we're wanting to add into here. Inside of the new calls area, again, /meeting notes, and that's what we're going to have in here. We don't actually need to have anything else, because the one thing that I love about the Notion meeting notes and the AI stuff is that you can take your notes as the transcription's happening. So as the transcription is working, you can take all of your notes in here, and then your notes and your transcription is going to work together to come up with a summary based on what you've typed. And it's such a good way of actually doing that. Inside of here for this template, we're going to put the date as today when the template comes up, purely because it means that we don't have to worry every time we're putting a new call in that we're selecting a random date or there's no date coming up. And it means that we can organize it based on the date that we've had it. So again, we're going to sort this based on the date in descending order. We're going to have the most recent ones at the top, and this just gives us the ability to see this in a really easy way. We've now got all of the databases sorted for what we're wanting to do. And you might be thinking, well, we've got all the database sorted, Andy, but it still looks like absolute crap. And you would be right, because the second part of this video is us running through the design of creating this inside of this one page. What we're going to do is we're going to turn these into the overviews. The overview of the business is going to be at the top, because this is the best way to actually see what is going on and what we are working on. The design of this is where things can get a little bit trickier for people, where they don't really know how they want to view things or how they we want to see things. And I'm going to lay this out in probably the most simple manner that I can. And from here, you will have the ability to customize it in any way that you want. In Notion, you can use what is known as linked views of databases. And this gives us the ability to link the views that we've took from the core directly into this space. And this is such a good way of not only protecting your databases, but allowing you to take views of your databases and show them in any way that you want without actually harming or doing anything to the main database we created back in the core. So if we take the task database as an example, you'll see that we can see two different views, the task database and the completed tasks. That gives us the ability to use what we've already created, but just taking a view of that database rather than creating the full one in here. This is great when you have people that might miss a button and they delete everything and then you're panicking and you're worried, but this is a great way to do it. We're going to name this task just because it's simpler to do. We're going to make the load limit something like 10 because we don't actually need to see that much. And we've already got all of the areas that it's laid out in the way that I want to see it. You can group this by the level of priority or by who if you're wanting to do that. But as of right now, we don't actually need to do it. Second one that we're going to add in is again from the task database, but it's going to be the completed tasks. So we're just going to name this completed. And we've got these two already started at the top of our databases. Next, we're going to add the calls database that we created before. So we're going to have the calls, and again, I'm going to remove the calls database, and this is sorted into the table view. But if you're wanting to, you can also sort it in a calendar view where you can see everything that's actually going on for your calls. Inside of here, you can then put all of the topics, the favorite call and who attended the call inside of here if you're wanting to add them. So if I add one inside of the 9th of July, you'll now see this new call comes up and you can see everything from this stage. So I'll leave it as a calendar view so that we can see it in a little bit of a different fashion at this moment. The next database that we're going to add is the work on the business database. So again, we're going to see all the developments of working on the business. And again, this is going to be sorted by the last edited time so that we can see the most recent developments that we've made. The final database that we're going to see inside of here is the ideas database. And this again is just going to give us that ability to see everything that's going on, sort it by the created time in descending order to see the most recent. And we're going to move some of these just so that they look a little bit nicer and a little bit easier to actually see. Now that we have all of our databases laid out, we want to have easy and quick ways to add particular tasks or calls or developments into here. Now, there are already 2 or 3 ways that we can do it inside of Notion right now, but I want to add buttons to make it even simpler for us to do. 2 ways that we could do it right now is adding in a task function here where we've got a new one, or inside of the ideas doing the exact same of having a new idea that's actually come up, or all developments putting a new page, or we've got the ability to also do it in this side. But I would rather make it simpler with having buttons that do it for us. Underneath the one-page business hub, I'm going to split this into 4 different columns, and that's because we've got our 4 areas with what's going on. And I'm going to create a button. So if we do /button, you'll see here we've got the ability to add in things that we want to add. So I'm going to have a new task in this one, and we're going to start filling this in. So inside of the new tasks, what we're going to do is we're going to add a page directly to the task database. We're going to use the template that we've created before and have the by who by the person who clicked the button. We're not going to put the level of priority or complete because we've not got them just yet, but we're going to have the complete by that date triggered. And what we're then going to do is we're going to open that page that we've just created in the side peek so that we can see or fill in any other information that we're wanting to, and we're not just adding it for the sake of adding it. What this looks like in here is that if we click a new task, you'll now see a new task comes up for myself that's to be completed by today's date. And then we can start putting in some of the steps to complete if we're wanting to. And this just means we can consistently add it through this button up here without having to go anywhere. What we're now going to do is we're going to duplicate this and do the same for the other ones. So this is going to be a new call. And then inside of here, we're going to have the call function. And instead of the task database, it's going to be the calls database. So we're going to do a new call. The date of the call is going to be today. And we're going to just add that in here. Again, we're just creating a new button, and we're going to do it for a new business development. The final one that we're going to do is a new idea. So inside of this, we're going to use the light bulb just to make it nicer. We're going to have the ideas database. And we're going to have it as a new idea. Now we've got 4 buttons that work with all of these, where if we're to put in a new call, you'll see the new call that comes in today. You can change the call topic, who's attending, and whether or not it was a favorite call. So now we've got our 1-page business hub. We've got everything that we actually need in order to make this work and in order for it to function. Now, a few of the things I'm going to take you through just as like additional parts, if you're wanting to, as an additional databases or things that you could do, is inside of your calls area, you can change the layout of this if you want to change the layouts of how things are working. Inside of all the business developments, you could group these by the related to. So it means that you can see, what's under what space, so that you can actually start to look at everything that you're doing and everything that you're working on. And you can see all of the things that you've pushed for in an easy to view format. And then as well, inside of the notes database, you could start filtering this based on your key ideas, so that when you check this box, you'll only be able to see the ones that you've got your key ideas on. But at any time that you want to, you can easily do that anywhere, where you can just put that as a filter and then remove that filter when you're done seeing it. But I want to keep it as simple as possible for you at the moment, so that you can just get started on this and actually using it in the way that would work for you. If you're wanting the full template, I've already created a link underneath this video that you can go and click and get access to yourself. There's also a small few minute video that actually explains how to use it if you're wanting to get a refresh memory without watching the full video. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch.